Okay, let's talk about Bangalore traffic. I mean, it's pretty legendary, right? But what if I told you the biggest problem isn't the number of cars, or the roads, or even the infrastructure? What if the real gridlock is actually in our heads? Let's get into it. So the whole idea for this explainer comes from someone who's lived in that's right, 8 different metro cities. And their take is crystal clear. Bangalore is just different. It's in a league of its own. So this isn't just, locals complaining. This is someone with a ton of perspective saying the traffic here has this uniquely notorious character. All right, let's unpack that notoriety. I mean, what's the first thing you think of when you're stuck, not moving, on Outer Ring Road or at the Silkboard Junction? We all have that list, right? The usual suspects we blame for the chaos, and I bet you're thinking of them right now. Yep, these are the ones. Unplanned urban sprawl. Infrastructure that just can't keep up. And yeah, maybe a bit of corruption slowing things down. And look, don't get me wrong, these are absolutely part of the problem, for sure. But they aren't the whole story. Not even close. The argument we're exploring today is that the biggest, most fundamental issue is a behavioral one, something we almost never talk about. It's this collective habit that's just silently, methodically choking the entire system. And that brings us to the core idea here. So, if the problem isn't just infrastructure, what is it? Well, it's a behavior. We can call it the single-hop habit. And really getting a handle on this might just be the key to understanding Bangalore's gridlock. So, what is it exactly? It's this deep-seated belief, this expectation, that you should be able to take one single mode of transport, one taxi, one auto, your own car, from your front door directly to your office lobby. No changes, no switches. Just one, single, seamless trip.
And this contrast right here it's everything. On one side, you've got the Bangalore expectation. That simple, direct, door-to-door dream. But on the other side, that's the reality in almost every other major city in the world. The multi-modal commute. Your journey is like a chain with different links. Maybe you cycle to the metro, take the train, and then walk the last bit to the office.
So, you might be wondering, is this multimodal thing really the norm? Or is Bangalore just special? To figure that out, we've got to look beyond the city limits. Let's see how other massive cities, both in India and around the world, actually move millions of people from point A to point B every single day.
Let's take Chennai, for example. A pretty common school commute there. It might be a quick cycle ride to the station, hopping on a train, and then walking to school. And the thing is, nobody saw it as a hassle. It wasn't an inconvenience. It was just the logical way to get around. It was totally second nature.
And then you've got Mumbai. Wow. In Mumbai, this isn't just a habit, it's a work of art. It's a super sophisticated citywide system. You have millions, literally millions of people switching seamlessly between buses, autos, and the local trains at these massive hubs like Dadar Station. The entire rhythm of the city is built on mastering that switch. And hey, this isn't just an Indian thing either. Just look at New York City. Even the super wealthy rely on the subway. The very idea of taking a single taxi from, say, a house in Queens all the way to an office in Manhattan, it's almost laughable. It's just not how a massive, functional city works.
Okay, so if switching between transport modes is the global standard for big, functional cities, then why is Bangalore such an outlier? This brings us to a really crucial point about what makes the city's population so unique and how that creates this massive, citywide mismatch between expectation and reality.
First off, let's just take a second to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this challenge. We're not talking about a small town here. We're talking about a sprawling metropolis of roughly 15 million people. I mean, that's more than the entire population of some European countries, all trying to get somewhere at the same time.
So now, let's just do some really simple math. What happens when a huge chunk of those 15 million people all expect to make that single point-to-point journey all at the same time in their own private car or taxi? The system doesn't just slow down, it can't handle it. The math itself just collapses. The roads, they freeze.
And here we get to the absolute heart of the issue. Bangalore's incredible growth has been fueled by people moving in from all over the country. A lot of them come from smaller towns where that single-hop trip is totally normal. And that's the challenge, right? They bring those perfectly natural expectations with them into a megacity that mathematically just cannot support that behavior at this scale.
Think about it like this. Someone who's lived in Bangalore for a long time, they get it. They see the city as a collection of different zones. kind of like islands. They instinctively know that going from, say, Basavanagudi to Martha Hawley isn't just a quick trip, it's a major journey. It needs a plan.
But a newcomer, they might not have that mental map yet. They just see 2 points on their phone screen, and without a second thought, book a taxi to go from one to the other. And in doing so, they often end up cutting right across the city's most congested arteries without even realizing the ripple effect they're causing.
This all creates a huge disconnect between expectation and reality, and you can see it in a few key ways. People don't always think strategically about where to live versus where they work. They see this giant city as just one single place. And maybe most critically, they ignore the natural traffic flows, the veins of the city, that longtime residents have learned to respect over decades.
So this all leads us to the final and maybe the most important takeaway of all. If the problem is fundamentally about our behavior, a collective habit that's been scaled up to millions of people, then the solution can't just be about concrete and steel. The real fix, it has to be about mindset over motorways.
Look, you can throw all the smart tech and big data you want at this. You can build miles and miles of new highways, but none of it can defy basic math. If millions of us keep insisting on these single-hop journeys, the system is fundamentally designed to fail. The input itself, our behavior, guarantees the output. Total gridlock. And that brings us to this really powerful idea to leave you with. A city isn't just a grid of roads on a map. It's more like a living thing. With arteries and veins, it has a natural pulse. And the traffic crisis? That's what happens when we try to slash right through those veins instead of learning how to move with them. And that raises a final question, not for the government, but for every single one of us who commutes. Are we willing to rethink our own journey? Or are we just destined to stay stuck in a gridlock of our own making?